All right, guys, the Falcons have an opportunity to do something that it is so weird to think we're having this conversation in Arthur Smith's third year that he's not won 3 games in a row since being at the helm for the Falcons. But that opportunity is upon him this coming weekend against the Bucks in a game that couldn't be more critical, not just for adding to his resume, so to speak, but also adding to the resume of the Falcons for their playoff hopes. So if the Falcons are able to do this, get this win, get this sweep of this series for the season, Jarvis, what do they need to do at the Benz this Sunday?
Oh, it has to be being running the football. And in the first matchup, we were out without Bijan Robinson, dealing with the headaches and all that stuff, and that the NFL ended up investigating that, and still haven't heard nothing about it since. So I'm sure that the Falcons are okay in that category. So, but I think this is an opportunity for the offense to kind of carry its own weight, right? Because we know that the defense has been pretty lights out for the past couple of games, coming out of the bye. So 9 quarters without giving up a touchdown, that is pretty doggone big in NFL. I don't care who you playing. And people try to minimize, some of that stuff like, oh, look at who they were playing, the quarterbacks. I don't care. This is the NFL. There's talent everywhere. People can be beat. Hey, the New York Jets beat the doggone Philadelphia Eagles. So there we go. That kind of tells you where this league is. So I really appreciate what the defense has been doing. So I think Arthur Smith has to be able to, establish himself offensively, get that running game going, and then, hey, be able to take some shots downfield, because I think that the explosiveness in the passing game is what this offense has been missing. And because teams are just loading the box and they aren't afraid of anybody that you have on outside to beating them over the top. So I think that this is a game that I feel in order to, really put your stamp on this division, saying, hey, we starting off the day by sweeping the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that's the first step in, moving towards being the NFC South champion.
Yeah, and Maria, I think that it's something that's very, very doable because, yeah, you did see maybe an uncharacteristic 34 carries, 90 yards, where you're expecting when you're going against a team like the Jets, who are technically ranked 31st against the run in the league, but you also dig deeper into the numbers, and you could also get a lot of carries or yards per carry, actually. But here's the thing: in the first half, yeah, you saw what looked like a sludge fest, which it was up in Jersey because of the weather, right? And so I think Bijan Robinson was maybe around like 2.6 yards per carry. But in that second half, the numbers actually increased to almost 5 yards per carry. And that 18 carries for 53 yards is a little bit more respectable. But I'd like to go back to the game before, because I think that's where we saw the three-headed monster return to form. And I'd like to think that, yeah, even though the Bucks do have a more stout run defense, that the Falcons have been putting this together, right? They've started to kind of put together and reset their run offense and really allow that to kind of set the stage. So do you think that this is an opportunity for them to be more like the Falcons that we saw 2 weeks ago in the ground, or the Falcons that we saw just a few days ago?
Yeah, I mean, of course, especially because at this point in the season, everybody is banged up, obviously. But I think for both of these teams, there's key injuries that each of them can take advantage of. And for the Falcons, they can clearly take advantage of the run game, given the fact that Tampa Bay is super banged up defensively. And so are the Falcons. The Falcons are banged up the most they have been all year. I mean, they've been very lucky in that they haven't had a whole lot of key injuries. So they are dealing with new territory this Sunday. But to echo Jarvis a little bit, I think that this is such a great opportunity to be at home at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I have a good feeling that the fans will show up. I've been very impressed with their attendance this year. They've been very excited about the Falcons, and for good reason. You get 3 wins in a row and you sweep the Buccaneers, that is, hello, we're going to host a playoff game. That's what you start talking about, that it's starting to come to fruition, that this team really could do that. I mean, we were literally talking about it right by my desk right before I walked over here, that this is becoming a reality for the Falcons. And yeah, I think the defense for the Falcons, it's hard to take away what happened in New Jersey because of the weather, like you talked about. It was just disgusting football all the way around. And we knew it was going to be like that, right? But the defense has done more than enough that they've needed to do over the last couple of weeks. I want the offense to be better. And what a fabulous opportunity to do that this Sunday. Give Bijan Robinson the football. I say it every week, but seriously, let him run, let him do anything and everything that you want him to do. And I like that Desmond is starting to get more and more confident. He's not as afraid to throw throw things that he probably wouldn't have earlier in the season. So why don't we extend those plays, take some deep shots, take advantage, explosive plays like Jarvis said, or what the Falcons have been missing on offense, do it against the Bucs, who have kind of lost their identity. They are the same, more or less, football team that we saw whenever they played each other earlier in the year. If the Falcons can clean up those mistakes that they did the first time around against the Bucs, y'all know the red zone defense was just, it was a mess. Everything in the red zone was bad. So clean up all the mistakes, give me some explosive plays, and make a statement. Do what we all think the Falcons are capable, or at least I think they're capable of, in winning their third straight and making a statement at home.
I would agree with you on that one, because I think too, this is a team that had 3 turnovers against the Buccaneers, right? And yet somehow, some way you eked out a win. I do feel like, Jarvis, the Falcons have started to develop a stronger, more reliable identity on offense than that team that the Bucs played in week 7. And still, that team did have 3 explosive plays on offense. So they still had 3 explosive pass plays. That's a team where Desmond Ridder was still trying to kind of figure out his way outside of Drake London, obviously. And those, neither of those, or none, I guess I should say, because it's 3 plays, none of those were to Drake London. So I think that should be very, very encouraging for what could happen on Sunday. And again, that's a defense that wasn't as leaky, it wasn't as banged up at week 7 for the Bucs. Now it is. And that was also an offense that, even in the absence of Bijan Ridder, that's when we started to say, oh, okay, CP's back. Oh, okay, you've got the bowling ball in Tyler Algier, who's ready to do whatever he's tasked to do. So I think this is kind of that prime time, like Maria was saying, for all of this, all of the ducks to be kind of in a row, and for everything to really show that it's operating on all cylinders in all phases of the game. And I'll get to the defense, because that's where a lot of those kind of concerns are in a minute. But Jarvis, I still want to say, before we go on to the defense, that I think this offense might be primed for maybe showing how they can give you a complete look at who they can be.
And the thing that I kind of noticed, when just kind of looking at the game and kind of digging a little deeper into it, when you look at, that outside, that wide receiver on the outside, right? Like, I think that, the return of Mac Hollins, he was a full participant in practice. So that's encouraging for me, because I feel like he's not necessarily the guy that's going to take the top off of defense, but he is a guy that can make a play for you, because, I feel like the biggest advantage that the Falcons have is when Kyle Pitts is lined up on the inside, when he's lined up in the slot, because I feel like it's a better matchup for him, because I think everybody can agree on this show that's living and breathing and looking, shaking their head right now, that, hey, Kyle Pitts isn't 100%. Like, I will stand on the table and pound the table and say that he's not fully healthy, because he just doesn't look like that when he's out there running routes and everything. So I think that moving him, condensing him down inside, being able to bring a guy in Mac Hollins that you can line up outside and can be a real threat for you to make plays for you. Another guy that can make a contested catch, along with Drake London. I feel like this is brewing. I think you're brewing something right now to be able to, hey, take advantage of that leaky defense, like you talked about.
So, Maria, this is a different type of weekend, because we've not seen the Falcons in infirmary mode this entire season, pretty much, especially on defense. But David Onyemata and Jeff Okudah both dealing with ankle issues. It's one thing when you have one starter down, AJ Terrell potentially, but when it's Terrell and Okudah in the secondary, that could be a concern. Same thing with the front. If you've got Grady, of course, out for the season, that's one thing. Onyemata and Grady, we've seen what that looks like. That could be a bit of a challenge, but do you feel like that puts more pressure on the rest of this defense to have to carry this team, should one or two of those members of that secondary aren't available, or should Onyemata not be available for the front?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it certainly puts pressure on most guys, because those are some of the names that we've heard all season long, and Onyemata's just been terrific in Grady Jarrett's absence. And I remember the first game after Onyemata was in there, after Grady was out, I talked to Calais Campbell about it, and he said that he has just been so impressed. And it's not like it's something that's new for David Onyemata. This is not like, oh, he's stepping up for the first time in his career. We know how good he has been, but just what he's been able to do is give you a reliable piece that you don't even have to think twice about with Grady being out, which the Falcons have never had that before. So it's very nice to have him there. It'll be very unfortunate if they're without him. But against the Jets, I was so surprised and so excited about Bud Dupree. Had a very sneaky good game against the Jets in New Jersey. We talked about it on Sports Extra. I thought that he brought different things to the pass rush that we haven't seen from the Falcons, as well as Arnold Ebiketie. He's also stepped up in the pass rush, and that's also something that's been missing for this defense. We're like, where's the pass rush? Where is it? Get after the quarterback. There's a couple of guys and names that we don't talk about enough that I think are just there, and they're just breaking through. The Bucs are a great opportunity to do that. And let's not forget the red zone defense that the Falcons were able to do against the Saints 2 weeks ago. Give me some of that. Give me some more pass rush. And yeah, of course, you're wickedly thin in the secondary for the Falcons right now, but nothing that's overly concerning to me, given the fact that they're playing the Bucs.
Indeed. And I think too, Jarvis, that when you start talking about, I'm going to use Maria's term, talking about guys that we should be talking about, but we haven't. And Arnold Ebiketie, when AK comes into that conversation, that's a good thing, because we've talked about how that linebacker core isn't exactly the strength of this defense, but if collectively they can add to the defensive front, or even going back to a guy in his first week with the Falcons showed up, Kentavious Street, but we didn't quite see maybe that in him last week. And finally, Jarvis, when you like to talk about when he actually shows up, and that's Lorenzo Carter. If we're having conversations about those guys, then maybe that pressure is mitigated a bit if you should not, or if you should have to go without a David Onyemata.
Yeah, because we know what David Onyemata brings as far as being a disruptor in the middle of that defense. Like, all you're missing are guys that coming off the edge, right? Like Maria mentioned, that Bud Dupree, I think he had more than just he made a statement. Like he was out there, balling. You talking about 2 sacks, and then there's a TFL where he was just ragdolling that tight end. I just love seeing stuff like that. I want to see more of it. Like, come on, Bud, I need to see more of that. And then with Arnold Ebiketie, man, asking for him to kind of, hey, let's give him some more opportunities to rush the quarterback. And when you see on 3rd and long, I see 17 hopping out there. I was like, okay, Ryan Nielsen, I see what you're doing. And those are the type of things that you want to see. And you love to see the adjustments, the development, right, of these players, because that's what's been missing from this Falcons as an organization for the past decade or so, especially when it comes to pass rushers. Guys got to come ready-made, or they just fall off the map. So you're seeing the development, and especially when you got like guys like Grady Jarrett, actually, even though he's not out there, he recognizes, like, okay, I see what Arnold Ebiketie is doing. I see what AK is doing, and he's really starting to find his way. So yeah, if we're talking about those guys after this game at 4:00 on Sunday at Mercedes-Benz, like we might be talking about a dub for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. AK with 5.5 sacks on the season, leading the team also with 2 forced fumbles. And this is the prime time for these guys to show up and show out, because there will be a celebration of that 98 team that showed up and showed out all the way to the Super Bowl. When we come back, we're going to go around the Metro and find out if Maria and Jarvis will be down with seeing some behind the scenes action. But first, Jarvis will give you some intel on subtext.
Listen up, guys. Jarvis Davis here for Locked On Sports Atlanta. Hey, if you got something really cool, that we're starting over here at Locked On Sports Atlanta, it's called Subtext. What is Subtext, Jarvis? Hey, it's essentially where you can get updates sent straight to your phone, whether it be breaking news or all 22 review, or if it's just something I've been thinking about. I threw something out there today. Hey, give me your random Falcons players, and you guys responded like crazy. I absolutely love that. So if you want to be a part of that, you can do a 2-week trial. It's only $4.99 a month. After the 2-week trial, if you like it, you can stick around. $4.99 a month. So go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSportsAtlanta, joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSportsAtlanta to become a Locked On Sports Atlanta insider, today.